Modern medication did not work for me. Modern medication did not work for me. Modern medication did not work for me. Modern medication.
Mercy TV.
Hello and welcome to Mercy TV in the age of COVID. This is episode, I forget how many under COVID.
Couple months now.
And so first thing I guess is showing the proper protocol and wearing masks when it's most prudent, and keeping distant otherwise, using disinfectants, using separate medical cannabis delivery devices and disinfecting those. A joint for everyone and everyone with a joint here. Greetings.
Howdy, my friends.
I'm Perry
Hello.
Normal. This is PK and
Sonny.
co-host Sonny. And we are Mercy, the Medical Cannabis Resource Center. Find out more about us and our other action items at mercycenters.org. And gosh, we've got so much to talk about and so little time. We'll just see how it goes. Send us an email with your favorite subject and topic, and we'll try and squeeze it in here.
My garden. Last episode, I showed a male plant and what I done with it. Pull it out. Put it in the burn pile. And that. But I showed you how nice and white the roots of that plant was.
Very nice. Thank you to everybody at CCTV.
Thumbs up.
Yes.
You can learn more about CCTV and how folks in the Salem area can take advantage of their services at our website, mercycenters.org/TV. There you'll find past episodes of not only the Mercy TV show, but PK's My Garden, which also is shown on Channel 23 on a regular basis. So if you're watching and you're in the Salem area, hopefully you have access to Channel 23.
Well, and it's because of them we've had this show going for so long. And we try to help patients and make sure that the patients get all the information, because the patients need the medicine, and, we try to make sure that the patients get all the news that they need,
Right.
And that's hearings at the Capitol building, at state offices, and the state about the values that the cannabis patients are getting screwed out of.
Well, the cannabis is good medicine, and it's good for everyone, for the older patients, for the younger patients. It's good for everybody.
You don't have to smoke it to
You
get
can
that.
rub it on, it's good for psoriasis, it's good for arthritis, it's good for seizures.
Carpal tunnel is what I'm suffering from.
You hear a lot of things. It's good for a lot of things. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, if you could send Perry an email,
And, let folks, educate yourself and others on the different modes of medicating with cannabis. You don't have to smoke it, and so all the issues that go with smoking it are also put to the side. So folks that are in situations,
Well, with this voting coming up, it's so important. I've been hearing a lot, we have not much support, and it took us so long to get cannabis legal, Perry, and that's what I'm afraid of. We're not going to get much support. We need everyone's support out there. Everyone needs to be talking about how good cannabis helps them. you know, and they need to be voting and talking to all their legislators and senators and where do they stand. And, you know, these are important things that people don't talk about. And, you know, these are the things that we need to talk about daily. You know, and there's a lot going on with this COVID, you know.
Well, so whether it's COVID or cannabis, you know, it's a good time to talk to your legislators
And
right.
doctors.
Talk to your doctor, and then talk to your friends and family and get them
And your
involved.
children.
Join organizations that are registering voters.
Well,
you know,
talk to anybody you want to talk to, that the things that you're gonna, you know, don't be embarrassed. Because if somebody is gonna be embarrassed, or they're gonna not want you to be a part of what you're gonna want, then they're not what you want to be a part of. You know, that's what I have come to realize. If they don't want you because you use cannabis, then that ain't what you want to be a part of. Because cannabis helps me, you don't want me. You know, you guys, cannabis has helped me since the beginning. You know, Perry, back when we were walking
Yeah.
and going from one end of the state to the end of the other, you know, it's ridiculous. You know, look how many people we've helped from way back. You know, I wish we'd fill this whole trailer. You know, that's what's...
Well, if we had at least $1 donation from all the past members, we would be driving in a Rolls
We'd be millionaires.
Royce.
well, we'd be doing a lot more with the show. We'd
Well,
be
there'd
going
be
places.
millionaires. There'd be millionaires. We wouldn't have... You know, that's what's ridiculous. We haven't did nothing. We haven't asked. We haven't did that. Because we're not about the money. We're about helping people. And people need help. That's what we're doing. Give us the calls or the, you know, that's what we were talking about before the show started, was about the phone. You know, and we can't go by the,
Minutes.
well, yeah, it's not about the minutes. We got to do something else.
Well, we got to get personnel. We need some volunteers to help answer the calls, you know. We have several email accounts that we try to assist people through. We don't have any social media set up because we don't have the personnel to respond to them, to the flood of communications I'm sure we would get through those mediums. Because there's a lot of people out there wanting, you know, answers to questions, and been doing that since we were formed. Yeah.
Was there other people that have talked to their doctors about cannabis that they're using? And you know, see, these are the things that our doctors are finding out, you know, that we need to know, because those are important. You know, that's what's getting added to that list. You know, those are the important things that, you know, when those get added to the list, that's good. When those issues...
Yeah, but that's an example of how messed up the law is and the systems are, not just here in Oregon, but throughout the U.S. and even the world. The fact that you can't add conditions like we were supposed to when we set up the program. When we set up the program initially, it was supposed to be on the form that you filled out with the qualifying conditions. There was a space to add other conditions that you also use it for. And after bringing these in and recording these and studying these, some would be considered for adding on. Well, they quickly, the prohibitionists who run the program quickly got rid of that, and quickly got rid of the petition process, and quickly, well, not so quickly, because people fought for months and years to get conditions added.
Well, Nurse Ed even took it
For
all
decades almost, he was working on various things, including getting conditions added.
Yeah. Till we
and
had the Congress.
It took a literal act of Congress to get the condition added. Because the
PSD.
program refused to. They refused to allow it under any circumstances, you know?
Patients are so important, and the cannabis is such good medicine, and the difference between having to eat all of those pills, you know, what is the difference? I know. I used to have to eat those handfuls of pills every day. Now I use a little bit of cannabis, and well, maybe, and what, it don't matter. Using cannabis and taking all those pills is a lot of,
Excuse me, but you don't have the side effects of the pills with cannabis. There's nobody that's documented died from cannabis alone. But people could be allergic to cannabis as well, and I understand people are allergic. But before 1937, when the prohibition was made into law and jeopardized not the cannabis but the hemp plant too, and how many trees and acres we could have saved of the forest if we were planting maybe one, maybe two crops a year instead of waiting 7 or 20.
Yeah, there's some discussion about what was the most prevalent reasoning for cannabis to be made illegal, and there's a lot of argument that the hemp side was the big threat to big business and so forth, and this being able to use it as a tool against immigrants was just a side benefit of the bullshit war on cannabis. And then we come to see a lot of pharmaceuticals, opposed to the medical aspects of it as well. Although the DEA recognized the effect that the medical use would have of it, on their whole war and their whole campaign. That's why in 1937 they arrested like 3,000 doctors for daring to say cannabis was medicine and letting people use it. And then the next year after that, the AMA came out and said, okay, well, we'll withdraw our objection to cannabis.
Yeah.
La la la. And ever
Because it's
since
true.
then, they've been afraid to say, hey, cannabis is medicine, or should at least be studied. Ever since then, imagine that, decades of fear, because a government agency will come in and arbitrarily arrest your members to silence you, to change your truth, And that's the situation we're facing today still with cannabis. So that's why it's important that everybody register, vote, and get everyone to do so also, to get the right people in there, to when we change the laws, we shouldn't have to, but when it's done, they stay changed, they stay to the benefit of the people.
Back to education.
Participation.
Education and voting. And voting is so important, and everybody needs to know what we're talking about and keeping these conversations going, and that what we're talking about, and that it's important, and that this just didn't happen. We need to talk about it, that it took one conversation and then walking and talking and voting and this conversation right here, and then going and getting signatures and we haven't explained to people, oh, well, I have this condition and the cannabis works, and well, we need your signature, and oh, well, I need your signature. Oh, well, this person's saying, oh, well, I ain't giving you my signature.
Right.
Well,
I ain't gonna get on any list.
Well,
Responsibility. It's all falling on us. Please participate.
well, I might use cannabis, but I'm not getting on the list.
Yeah, which is it's wrong all the way around. It's not happening. They've got far too many other ways to look for dissidents, and it's the only way it's going to become mainstream, really. So, appreciate the stigma and there's a lot of things you can do privately without having to expose yourself, as you were. So by all means, look at those. A lot of anonymous ways to contribute to the conversation, to make statements, to offer testimony.
We want to make sure that everybody's talking about it, that everybody's voting, and that who you're voting for is supporting the medicine.
Right.
It's important that what we know, that the patients are getting their medicine.
Yeah.
So, folks, please go to mercycenters.org, and on our homepage we have a whole collection of tools for helping to get out the vote. Not only registering to vote, making sure you stay registered, ways to fill out, get your ballot, fill it out, get it sent in early, track it, make sure it gets there, and that it's not disqualified by some bullshit excuse by some Republican there.
Or Democrat.
Well, yeah, to make sure it gets not messed with by anybody, really. Much less the post office or any other nimrods that are going to try and mess with it. There's also ways to help your neighbors to vote. There's ways and means to make sure people get to the polls. There's a bunch of, there's some links on how to be a poll enabler, help to make the poll happen, to be a poll worker, you know, help there, hand out the ballots, gather them in, make sure they get sent to the head office okay. There's also a poll watching, because we expect a great deal of intimidation, voter suppression to happen this year also. I mean, Trump is pretty much openly bragging about getting more troops, you know, and listen, you know, he could grab a bunch of yahoos from anywhere, make them federal marshals, you know, old Attorney Barr would be happy to hand out, you know, get out of jail free cards to, you know, these people, and just unleash them, you know, and they do whatever. You know, how much is it just to have an armed person with, you know, automatic weapons and camouflage, you know, looking at you and just primarily, you know, terrorizing you, basically.
But
So
there has been groups that are dressed the same way to protect the public.
right, there's election protection. There's a couple of other groups that are anticipating this and teaming together ahead of the thing. But mostly, you know, plan your vote. Like I'm saying, you know, get it.
But don't
get
have
it
fear. We want everybody
filled out,
to
get it
know
in.
that you, as a patient, talk to your doctors, talk to your family, talk to your neighbors, talk, you know, be, you know, if you, you know, write, call.
Right.
You know, we have the numbers, you have the websites.
You can write into your local media, call in. There's a radio, you know, still.
Participation. That's what the
Any way you can, you know,
participation.
get a group of folks or by yourselves. It's amazing how many folks have come and join you these days. Get on the street corner with a sign, you know, communicate to find a heavy traffic spot and, you know, communicate that way too. But
If you just say something, you'll be surprised. People will, you know, they'll jump right on it because you know what? They're there.
check your local Secretary of State's office webpage for all kinds of information on voting, how to do all these things, and of course the Mercy Center website, which has links to all these other groups, but mostly, basically, help make sure that your friends and family, your neighbors are all voting, that they're getting their ballots, they're filling them out, and getting them in, you know.
And be safe. You know what?
Well, continue to be safe, yeah, be smart.
And you know what? There are people out there, please look out. You know, there are lots of others, you have a big neighborhood, in the neighborhood, watch out for your neighbors,
Look both ways when you're crossing the street, my friends.
Well, common sense, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what we want everybody to remember. Use all the
Common
guidelines.
sense.
Okay, common sense. The guidelines that they're setting. We're doing so good. We're doing so good in the Northwest. They keep saying so much about the Northwest. Everybody else is doing.
Depends. Fox News is only talking about Portland and the violence. the constant violence and stuff.
No, we're doing good
So,
in the
but
Northwest.
as far as the COVID numbers, we're doing better than most, and I think that's due to our campaigns of social distancing, mask wearing, and disinfectant all around.
Staying hydrated. Using cannabis.
It's all of it, education, please, talk, be respectful, there's so much to all of it.
Well, cannabis, and like the COVID situation, the cannabis situation, when science, when medicine, is applied to it, then you get progress. Then you get, finding ways and means to use it while keeping it restrictions from the potential harm of it. But when emotions and other things take over, I'm just afraid of it. It's more evil because the addiction is just more terrible or something. It's like, no, it's less addictive than coffee. That's not true. Just the emotional stigma,
The propaganda that people have been filled over the 75 years or so.
Right.
Since the...
and it's allowed a situation where, so now we have an extract of cannabis, CBD, becoming so commonly accepted that it's sold openly in stores. A relative of mine who was so that evil, even saying the words evil, now she's using it. And I'm like, well, good. I'm glad that's happening,
It's
but
working for you.
we kind of missed the boat here. We got some flotsam coming off of it. Oh, this is good. Well, why don't we get the whole boat in here and take advantage of it? But we've got this system whereby black and brown people using marijuana is evil, and we can't let it happen. But CBDs that are extracted by white people and sold by white companies and all, that's okay. We don't need all the FDA approval and all the thing that they say is lacking for marijuana. This stuff, it just happens to be okay.
Because it's out of the hemp plant too.
And that's all due to this BS twisted pot war propaganda that's been driving this whole thing. And that's a case where science and logic and reason parted ways from the interests of the prohibitionists. They didn't mind all that stuff. Was not, contrary to their thing of getting this thing in because it was evil and dangerous and blah.
Back to being able to grow your own medicine.
And what was the evil and danger? It was supposed to be that certain subcultures would be using this to seduce white women and shit. It's like, I heard the other day on the radio that a lot of white guys voted for women's suffrage because they were sold it as a way to counter the black vote. So, God, it seems like everything has this kind of taint to it, but
there's always something in there, huh?
The solution is the same. To register, vote, get everyone we know to do so also. And when we get them to register and to vote through education, through the conversation about cannabis as medicine.
And it's healthy.
And the truth about it.
You.
I mean, the pros and the cons, I wouldn't be up for anyone who's, flying a spaceship or operating heavy equipment to be overly intoxicated with cannabis. But cannabis on its worst day is still better than alcohol and God knows any number of other things on their best day. If you want somebody drunk or you want somebody stoned, you'd rather prefer not to have any. But what is the worst case? What's the lesser evil? And we gotta...
It all depends on the person too. But how do you have a alcohol department handle a plant?
Right. I mean,
that's an agricultural department. Don't you think so?
Right. Well, just to close off my point, as PK was saying, nobody's died from cannabis. Okay, and all their horror stories and a lot, they still don't have a body.
Back
That's a
to
myth.
how good it
That's a
does.
lie.
And healing,
Uh,
you know. look
And in
out.
fact, there's a great possibility that it can cure cancer and God knows what else. And it's a crime that that's being denied us. That's the real crime. And so
Here.
we ask you all to get involved and change, make change happen.
Well, the psoriasis, you know, is so good, you know.
So
We're closing it?
we got a few minutes here. And so any last words?
Thank you for Dr. Lebeck. Thank you for Dan the Bagman of Eugene, Shauna, Mike, Sam and Ethan, and the other participation,
So many
Kelly,
blessings.
Yeah.
So many blessings.
CBTV, which is Meteor Television, and they got music on a couple of their stations
Henry
too.
Turner Jr.
Yep, and Henry Turner Jr., who wrote the Modern Medication Doesn't Work For Me. And you can listen to that at another time.
Man, we need to send him
Right on.
some. send
Okay,
him some-
well, thanks for watching. Spread the news, spread the word.
Be safe.
Be safe, everyone. And we'll see you next time on Mercy TV.
Social distancing. Felons can vote in the state of
Yes.
Oregon.
Right? Know your laws of
Please,
your state.
Please,
Visit
Yeah.
the
get
website.
your other felons to vote.
Yes.
Thank you. You want to say anything before I turn it off, Glenn?
Yes, good night.
Good night. God bless you all, every single one of you.